Welcome in to the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show. Let's roll. We got the rundown, and I'm sorry I don't have the sound effects on there. I'll get better in the future.
Wow.
Wow. And we're going to show Derek Collins' beautiful face again with some players that wowed us. And the first, Mr. Nelson Velazquez, his last 7 games of 571, 667, 1857 slash, 3 homers, 7 RBIs, 5 runs. 3 of those 4 hits in the week were home runs. He also had a walk, 3 Ks, 0 stolen bases, and 31.6% K percentage this year, similar to minor league stats, where in 2021 he played 56 games across double and triple A. But with the Cubs sellers and LC, there's a video we brought up in our group chat with Hap and Contreras hugging it out. Mm-hmm. It could lead to more playing time. What are you doing if you own Mr. Velazquez?
I think Velazquez is one of the high K rate type of guys who's going to give you inconsistent performance. In the Cubs, I think of that as well. I do think he will be in line for more playing time if Hap gets traded, or if and when Hap gets traded, I could say. But with that high K rate, I think you're going to be probably pulling your hair out a little bit with him. But he gets hot. He had 3 home runs against Philly. He didn't play at all against Pittsburgh the next 2 games. So I'm kind of just tossing my hands up in the air with him because he was cold before the Philly series, beat up Philadelphia, didn't play against Pittsburgh. So I think he's the type of a player who you might plug in because he's getting some at bats. If you need someone just to put in your lineup. And he has potential to have good games, but he's not a long-term add, in my opinion.
Yeah, 23 years old. Certainly interesting to see what the future holds for him. But You're right. That K percentage is really going to be detrimental in points leagues. But I guess maybe what you're hoping for is the Patrick Wisdom of last year, where high K percentage, but he's able to hit the ball extremely hard and get you a good source of pop there. Mm-hmm. Our next guy. And that's going to be Mr. Amed Rosario over the last 7 games, a 346, 393, 500 triple slash, no home runs. That's not really much of a surprise, but 5 RBIs, 3 runs, a walk, 3 Ks, and a stolen base. And his expected stats are actually very similar to his real stats, which shows that hopefully there's not much regression coming. But I think the biggest improvement for him is he cut his K rate from 20.4 last year to 14.7% this year, which is a career low. And this year, his barrel and hard hit percentage are above career averages. He is shortstop and outfield eligible this year. So, Marty, do you think Mr. Rosario can keep this going, or is this just a hot stretch?
I think he can keep it going throughout the year. And when you think of Amed Rosario, you really don't realize he's only 26 years old. So he has plenty of opportunity to stay this or maybe even get a little bit better. His XBA is in the 91st percentile. You touched on the fact that he's not striking out anywhere near as much. His K percentage is in the 86th percentile. Sprint speed, 97th percentile. The guy's flying around the base pass. And when you look at his stats for the entire year, he's batting .295, 4 homers, 34 RBIs, and 10 steals. He's hitting every day in the Guardians lineup in the 2 spot, so plenty of opportunity for runs. He has 55 runs on the year, and the Guardians are sneaky good. Against righties, they're actually the 8th best team with the WRC+. So, for the rest of the year, you're really happy you got him, and I'm sure he was extremely cheap.
Yeah, and what the Guardians have been doing, and we saw with Miles Straw last year, is they're aggressive on the base pass. I think that's the only reason Miles Straw is getting taken early in drafts this year is because how he finished the year last year, and just that speed that he carried. The last that are going to cover, and this was a streamer of last week, and it's Ramon Urias. Over the last 7 days, 421, 421, 789 triple slash. So no walks there, but 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 4 runs, and 5 Ks. Got to see one of those home runs against the Yankees when I went on Saturday. But when you break it down, his launch angle is at the highest of his career. The hard hit percentage and barrel percentage are at all-time highs also. And he's hit safely in 10 out of the last 11 games. He's played every day besides 2 since getting activated off the IL. And the O's have been really hot. It'll be interesting to see what they do at the deadline. I don't anticipate them being sellers. I could maybe see buyers just because I think that they're in contention more than they thought, but I could also see them staying put. But no matter what, I think Mr. Urias has an everyday spot rest of season barring injury. And we got our guy Jasper checking in. Just got in. Glad I could catch the show. I'll be getting in touch with y'all this weekend. Please do. You're overdue for an appearance on there. Any comments on Mr. Urias?
What about? I mean, do you see? How about you? Do you think he's going to be able to continue this for the rest of the year, or what do you think he's got going on?
I don't think he's going to continue this surge the rest of the year. We've talked about that Camden Yards is now a pitcher's park, and I think it's somewhere in the middle of that. I think players are still getting acclimated, but even with the fences getting pushed back, it allows more room for, I'm not going to say triples because he doesn't have that speed, but more doubles and extra base hits. Mm-hmm. And the O's have been playing really hot the last month. So I'm riding it as long as I can, and that multi-position eligibility, second, third, and short is really critical. And Toby checking in. Donovan Solano last 7 games, 500, 750, a homer, 12 hits, 6 RBIs. He could be a sneaky third base plug and play, especially with the Reds in that hitter-friendly ballpark. But
you gotta love when the average and the OBP are the exact same.
I do. Not patient at all. But we're gonna go to the pitching side. We're gonna go with Mr. Reid Detmers. So season stats on the year: a 3.84 ERA, a 107 WHIP, and 63 Ks and 75 innings pitched. Since being recalled from AAA on July 8th, he's gone 17 innings, 2 earned, a .94 WHIP. That's over 3 starts. And it's kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde year for him, throwing a no-hitter, the only one in the MLB this season, unless I missed one, but also getting demoted. But also something to monitor is he's thrown 81 innings between both levels, which is a career high so far, and we're still in July. So, Art, if you have Reid Detmers, what are you doing with him?
I'm pitching him until he starts to fall off. He's been pitching very well this month. In July, he's had starts against the Orioles, the Astros, and the Braves. No real pushover teams there. And over his last 3 starts, 17 innings pitched, 19 to 6K to walk, and given up only 2 earned runs. He's given up a little bit of hard contact, but it's not really hurting him yet. Like, it's not a lot of hard contact. He has a few, like 110, but the launch angles are nice and low on those, and they're singles or flyouts or something like that. So he's getting, I'm not going to project that this batted ball luck is going to continue, but as you see, he's got a 1.07 whip on the season. His 0.94 run over the last 3 starts is not like way unheard of better than what his season level is. It's brought down his season level, but he wasn't like a bad whip guy. His ERA has come down, but like you said, he's shown intermittent stints of being really effective. For me, I think he's in the middle of a good run. His fastball is a little bit faster than it was before since he come off the IL, hitting 95 on occasion, sitting around 94, whereas his season-long average is only 93. So I like with that added fastball speed and the fact that he's just pitching well right now. I'm going to keep running him out there. Of course, if I see like a really bad matchup, I'm probably gonna sit him because of his inconsistency. But until I see like a Yankees or a Dodgers or a team or in Colorado or a really bad matchup, really tough one, I'm probably gonna run him out there for most.
Now, really quick, I just want to piggyback off that. This weekend, he's going against Texas. Now, Texas is the 5th best team against lefties in all of baseball. So if he doesn't have the best start, that is why. Texas is sneaky good, a 116 WRC plus versus lefties. So tread lightly with that matchup. Moving forward, I completely agree with Art.
So let me ask you, in a redraft league, are you trying to trade Reid Detmers now before the deadline, especially with the news that came out with Trout today? Do you think the Angels get somewhat conservative on all fronts and maybe shut him down in September if they're not in contention?
I think that's a possibility that they really cap his innings this year. I think But I said I think his innings are going to be good, but yeah, definitely going to cap his innings. They look like they're destined to be sellers. They're pretty far back right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Angels do at the deadline. They have a lot of money committed, and they're going to maybe want to pay Ohtani or somebody else will. But the next guy we're going to talk about, Mr. Braxton Garrett, and this was before today's start. But his most recent start before that, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned, walking 7 Ks in his second straight outing against the Pirates. 4 straight games with 3 earned runs or less. Once again, this is before tonight's game, so Marty will update you on that. But he's been relying heavily on his fastball and slider. He throws them a combined 82% of the time, followed by his curve at 10%, and then his changeup 8%. But some good things to look at. He's in the 64th percentile of whiff rate, 98th percentile of chase rate. So, Marty, what are your thoughts on Mr. Garrett?
Well, I was all in on Braxton, especially last week. I looked like a genius when he had his 11 strikeout night. So I think like a lot of the times the Marlins do this. They produce really good pitching. And they come in early. He's only 24 years old, and the K upside is going to be huge. I think for points leagues moving forward, he's going to be in a good spot. He pitched 111 innings in AAA, so he's currently sitting at 52.1 innings. So I'm not concerned about him, curbing his, the rest of his innings. I think they'll let him roll it out. But yeah, looking at his start today was absolutely brutal. I'm bringing up the numbers now, but yeah. So at Cincinnati, he gave up 5 runs in 5 innings. He had the 8 strikeouts. So moving forward, he's a good points league play. If you're concerned about your ratios, I would stay away from him.
Yeah, and I mean to piggyback off Marty, he gave up 4 in those first innings, so definitely settled down a little bit after that. And Toby checking in that he did give up the 5 and 5, but 8 Ks as well. And I mean, speaking of Toby, it's like he can read the rundown. The last person we're going to go over, Mr. Cole Irvin, and that was a streamer of mine. This was before today's outing where he did even better.
Great.
But last outing against the Rangers, who are good against lefties, 5th best, according to Marty. But 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, a walk, and 8 Ks. His last 4 appearances, 27 innings pitched, 1.67 ERA, 0.63 whip, and 18 Ks. Now, his expected stats are much higher than his actual stats, and he's given up a lot of hard contact. So he's been pretty lucky along that. But he had a great day against Houston as well. 7 innings, I believe, 2 earned. So, I mean, Cole Irvin has just been on a roll. He's gone at least 5 innings in all starts this year. So even though the metrics show that he's due for some regression, you have to play him right now. And, if anything, maybe he's a buy low candidate or a sell high, depending on if he thinks he's going to get traded. I feel like anybody for the A's is for sale right now. And Toby chiming in that he only has a 2.91 ERA over his last 7 starts. And he's faced the Astros a couple times, the Blue Jays, the Rangers. These aren't bad offenses.
No, shout out to anybody who ran him out there against the Astros. I mean, hey, it worked out.
Yeah. And Toby brings up another good question. I want to ask you guys this. With the White Sox having the second toughest strength of schedule, are y'all looking to move guys like Lynn and Giolito? I think the time to move Giolito is over, unless you want to get pennies on the dollar for him. His ERA is over 5 this year. His WHIP is about 1.3. You're not going to get anything remotely close to what you could have at the beginning of the year. I think same with Lynn. I mean, do you guys feel any different?
I have some hopes for Lynn. He had a good start against Cleveland last time out. Mm-hmm. And Lynn really has had really a disjointed season, starting really late. And he's been up and down since he started. I'm hoping the break set him right. That first start out of the break was good. Of course, this is wishful thinking on my part. He's my top pitcher in my Darf League team. So his first start, I was watching it like a hawk, and he looked pretty good.
Marty, you're
yeah,
the Lance Lynn whisperer.
Yeah, I'm the same. I agree. I'm definitely. I mean, I love Lance Lynn. You guys all know that. I make that very clear. But he's got a 6.43 ERA on the year and a 4.30 xERA, which obviously isn't as good as it normally is. But hey, 2 full points, below. That means good. I think good times are coming, for him. Giolito, risky business. Every time I turn around, I cannot trust him in pretty much in any way, shape, or form. So sorry to our triple play team, and said we should have got Sandy Alcantara. I fudged it up.
Risky business might be a compliment to Giolito at this point. I mean, David and I got our victory lap out for Sandy over Giolito.
Do you think he's a sit? How about this? Can you sit him? Because he's everyone's. I mean, he's your SP1.
I sat Giolito last week when he played the Guardians in my home league, and you have 10 starts per week. Actually, we had 17 because it was the All-Star week, and I benched him, and wow. He gave up 6 earned.
No, it's a good move.
It's really tough to do. It's more at this point the name value that keeps him going, because if you just had a blind resume, there's no way you would feel any sort of confidence starting him. And especially in points leagues where you get points for a win, that's something that kind of keeps the hope alive. But I'm not feeling good about him rest of the season. But you have to stick around with him at this point unless you can get a trade offer that you think is worth it.